Water was the lifeblood of ancient Rome. Imagine a city with more than 1 million people living closely together. A bustling, noisy, crowded place. Rome at its peak. To keep it alive and healthy, a huge amount of fresh water was needed every day. People needed water for drinking, cooking, washing. Without a constant supply of clean water, diseases could spread fast, making city life impossible. The Romans understood this and made water a government priority. The demand went beyond survival. The Romans loved their public baths. The thermae baths were social centers. People went there to meet friends, do business, exercise, and relax. Grand bathhouses used enormous amounts of water, from hot to cold. Before aqueducts, Rome relied on the Tiber River, local springs, and wells. As population exploded, these sources became insufficient and polluted. The Tiber served as the main sewer, and drinking it became dangerous. Welcome to Reality Fractured TV. You've seen the shorts about Roman roads and self-healing concrete. Now we're diving deep into their most impressive feat, aqueducts that made water defy gravity using only stone and mathematics. Planning an aqueduct was complex and deliberate. First, architects had to find a good source of water. They searched far beyond the city, looking for springs and rivers with volume and purity. Engineers measured how much water was available and judged quality, even observing the health of locals who drank it. The core principle was gravity. Let water flow downhill from high sources to lower cities. They planned a precise route with a gentle, continuous slope. Too steep damages, too shallow, and water stops. Surveyors measured angles, levels, and distances with specialized tools across long distances. Paths often curved around hills or followed valley sides to save time and money. Final plans mapped every turn, bridge, and tunnel. Planning could take years. Projects needed approval and funding. It was a huge investment. Proposals, detailed materials, workforce, and construction time. Romans kept meticulous records like modern firms. Every detail mattered. The stone, logistics for food, and housing thousands of workers. They turned a practical problem into something enduring and beautiful, changing cities forever. The quest for the perfect water source was the critical first step. They would collect water in a bronze vessel, let it sit, and check for sediment or dirt. Volume and consistency mattered. They measured flow year-round to avoid sources that dried up. Careful measurement protected the investment. Once approved, they built a collecting basin, the caput aquae. The small reservoir acted as a first filter, letting sand, leaves, and debris settle. From there, water began its long, engineered journey through stone channels to Rome. The Romans lacked lasers and computers, but they had simple, brilliant tools. These instruments let them build with astonishing precision. The groma, a wooden cross with plumb lines, established straight lines and perfect right angles. The chorobates, a long leveled plank, used water in a groove to confirm horizontal and maintain gentle slopes. The dioptra measured horizontal and vertical angles, an early theodolite for long spans and valleys. Large wooden cranes, powered by people or animals, used pulleys and winches to lift heavy blocks. In quarries and tunnels, iron picks, chisels, and mallets shaped the stone. Skilled, organized teams using these simple tools built structures that have lasted 2,000 years. Precise measurements made bridges, channels, and tunnels fit together perfectly. The heart of the aqueduct was its channel, the specus, the rivus. Most of its length was a simple covered channel, sometimes on a low wall, often just below the surface. Typically rectangular, about 3 feet wide and 6 feet high, large enough for maintenance. Built mile after mile, with a perfectly consistent slope by master builders. They lined the channel with opus signinum, lime, sand, crushed pottery, brick, a reddish cement that prevented leaks. Walls were stone or brick, covered with stone slabs or a small vault. The cover protected water from sunlight, leaves, dirt, and animals, keeping it cool and clean. They dug a trench, laid a solid foundation, and built the side walls. Floors were plastered, roofs set. Then the structure was backfilled and hidden in the landscape. Along the route, settling basins slowed the flow so sand and silt could settle. Shafts allowed workers to remove accumulated debris. A simple, brilliant system delivering clear water to fountains and baths, a luxury unmatched in the ancient world. Roman engineers followed contours, but valleys and hills demanded bold solutions. Instead of long detours, they built bridges to carry water straight across. Graceful, strong arches became the iconic face of Roman aqueducts and a symbol of their engineering power. Arches distribute loads to supports, enabling tall, stable bridges from smaller stones. In deep valleys, they stacked 2 or 3 tiers of arches. The Pont du Gard is a stunning multi-tier masterpiece. When blocked by hills, they tunneled directly through rock with picks and chisels, often digging from both ends. Surveyors aligned teams using signals and careful measurements to meet in the middle. Tunneling was slow, dangerous work in dim light. Where bridges were impractical, they used inverted siphons, sealed lead pipes diving down one side and up the other, driven by water pressure. Costly and risky under pressure, siphons still proved Rome would try any method to move water where it was needed. Many aqueducts were so well built that parts still stand 2,000 years later. Pont du Gard, part of a 31-mile line to Nîmes, soared 160 feet above the Gardon. Its stones cut so precisely the main structure needs no mortar, a testament to Roman precision and skill. In Spain, Segovia's aqueduct spans the city on 2 tiers, reaching over 93 feet at its highest. Built from over 20,000 granite blocks without mortar, it delivered water from the 1st century into the 20th. Rome had 11 major aqueducts: Aqua Appia, Aqua Marcia, Aqua Claudia, and more. Together, they supplied more water per person than many modern cities today. Aqua Virgo, completed in 19 BC, still feeds the Trevi Fountain, a living link to Roman engineering. These masterpieces reveal the scale and ambition of Roman water engineering, each with its own story and challenge. The impact of aqueducts was enormous and immediate. Fresh water made cities healthier and more pleasant. With clean water for drinking and cooking, public health improved. Aqueducts sustained complex sewers like the Cloaca Maxima, washing waste away and reducing disease. Vast water supplies powered Thermae, the heartbeat of Roman social life. Citizens of all classes bathed, exercised, read, and socialized for a small fee. Public fountains provided free water for the poor to carry home. For the rich, in-house water, private baths, and ornate fountains were ultimate status symbols. Aqueducts employed thousands: engineers, masons, and laborers. They stimulated demand for stone, sand, and timber. Coordinating surveys, workers, and supplies honed advanced administration. Building aqueducts in new provinces showed Roman order, law, comfort, and health, a civilizing promise in stone and water. After Rome fell, much knowledge was lost. Many aqueducts decayed without maintenance. Cities returned to wells and rivers. Public health standards declined for centuries. Yet the ruins inspired later builders. In the Renaissance, scholars studied arches and steady gradients anew. The idea of civic water service was reborn. Roman principles endure: gravity flow where possible, pumps and pipes where needed. The same challenges remain: plan the route, ensure steady flow, maintain purity. Engineers still study Rome for practical problem-solving and durable, functional design. Roman aqueducts weren't just engineering marvels. They were monuments to human ingenuity that still stand after 2 millennia. From the towering arches spanning valleys, to the precisely graded channels that carried millions of gallons daily, to the settling tanks that purified water for an entire empire, every element reveals a level of hydraulic mastery we're still trying to understand. These structures fractured our assumptions about ancient capabilities and proved that sometimes the greatest innovations come not from modern technology, but from brilliant minds solving impossible problems with stone, mathematics, and determination. Every time we turn on a tap, we echo Roman mastery. Their arches aren't just echoes of empire. They are foundations of our modern world. If this deep dive into Roman engineering revealed something that changed how you see the ancient world, then please tap the like button and subscribe to Reality Fractured TV so you never miss new archaeological evidence that fractures our understanding of human history. Because the past isn't primitive, it's a mystery we've barely begun to solve.